Hello, precious, wonderful, amazingly bright, intelligent students. I wanted to just briefly talk to you a little bit about a subject, and then I'm going to give you a quest at the end. So please watch the entire recording. As you know, Dorothy and the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, they were on a quest. They all wanted to get to Oz. And of course, I'm referring to the story, the book, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz, which was also in a movie version. And also there was another version of it called The Wiz, W-I-Z. If you haven't read the book or watched either The Wonderful Wizard of Oz or The Wiz, maybe you can do it during this week off because of the Texas weather. If you have internet or if you have a library card or if you have an opportunity to get to a library where you can check out the book or go to Amazon and maybe read it online using Kindle or something like that. So there's many ways, of course, to get to this story. If you haven't already, there's even videos of different clips of the story. But it's a great story. It's a classic. But as you know, the Cowardly Lion, when he was discovered in the forest by Dorothy, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow, he kind of tried to be a little bit of a bully. He was trying to bully the Scarecrow and then the Tin Man, and eventually he ran after Toto. And when he did that, Dorothy came from behind a tree, smacked him on his nose, and he just started crying and blubbering. He even used his tail to wipe away his tears and ask if his nose was bleeding, and it wasn't because she didn't hit him that hard. That is a scene where he seemed to be a coward and not the king of the jungle, which is what lions are supposed to be. However, throughout the story, several times he showed great courage, even though he was on a quest to go to the Oz and get courage, just like the Scarecrow was on a quest to go to the Oz in the Emerald City to get a heart. And the Scarecrow, a brain, and the Tin Man, a heart, and Dorothy and Toto, an opportunity to get back to Kansas, which is where they were from, a prairie that was kind of gray and bland, but it was where her Aunt Em and Uncle Henry lived, and that's where she wanted to go. Anyway, there are other people, and real life people, who have shown courage. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of them. What about the Pilgrims? When they came to the United States, it was an unknown land, and they had no idea what they were about to face. Anne Frank, she and her family lived in secret and quiet to hide from the Nazis during the Jewish Holocaust. And if you haven't read that book, The Diary of Anne Frank, that's a great read for a fourth grader. And then the police, firefighters, and citizens who rushed into buildings to save lives on September 11, 2001. They showed great courage, great heroism, great valor. That's when the terrorists attacked the United States. And then Charles Lindbergh, he made the first nonstop flight from New York to Paris. And I'm talking by plane. Nobody had done that before, so that took courage. He was up in the air. He wasn't on land where he could control his movements a little bit more. He was actually flying. Then there was also Mother Teresa. She lived among the poorest of the poor and helped them to thrive, learn, and grow. That was by choice. So she showed great courage because some of the people had infectious diseases and she could have become contaminated with them, but she didn't think about herself. She thought about how she could help and serve these people and give them comfort. And then Sir Edmund Hillary, he climbed Mount Everest when that was not a popular thing to do. So that took valor, that took chivalry, heroism. And then the American revolutionaries who were fighting for the freedoms of all in this country. There was also Harriet Tubman. She led the slaves to freedom on the Underground Railroad when African Americans or African people that were here in America were enslaved. And Rosa Parks, she refused to give up her seat on the bus. That took courage because at that time, people of color could not sit in the front of the bus. They had to go to the back. But she refused to give up her seat in the front. And it started a whole movement called the Civil Rights Movement. Martin Luther King, during that same time, stood up for equal rights for all people. And Joan of Arc, she faced a lot of criticism and was burned at the stakes because of her beliefs. But she didn't cower. She did not go back on her beliefs. She stood for them. And it did cost her her life. And then the Pilgrims, once again, as I stated, coming to America, we celebrate their courage during Thanksgiving, what we call Thanksgiving. But anyway, so those are just some people that have shown courage. Your quest is very simple, and it would only take a couple of minutes, maybe 5. You're going to look up on Google people who have shown courage. You're going to read whatever person you choose after you do your search, and you're going to write just 4 sentences, like you're in the 4th grade. That's why I chose that number. Write 4 sentences telling facts about that person. Real live person. Don't use the ones that I've used, the Pilgrims, Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, Charles Lindbergh, the firefighters and other first responders for September 11, 2001's terrorist attack. Do not use those people, and do not use anybody like Martin Luther King that I also mentioned, or Joan of Arc. Come up with your own, and there's going to be plenty on the internet. So it might be hard for you to choose, but don't spend more than a couple of minutes choosing. Then read about that person. Maybe you'll have to reread a second time, and then only 4 sentences. 4 sentences. Factual information, key information, highlights about that person, and then you will submit that to me by email in order to get credit for that. And it can be just written on regular paper. It doesn't have to be fancy. I'm not counting off for spelling, grammar, or punctuation. I just want you to write about the person. And that is your quest. And I would love for you to turn it in as soon as possible. If you can turn it in by this Friday, 2 days from now, please do. If you can't turn it in until next week, try to do it by Tuesday at 5 p.m. Great talking to you guys. I'm going to go for now. And if you don't remember, I am wanting every person to come up with their own greeting when they come to class. Do they want to do a fist bump, wave, do a high five in the air, or come up with your own? So be thinking about that so we can implement that or start that next week. Bye-bye. Stay safe and warm.